everybody. Welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs and baseball podcast hosted by two comedians who live in New York but love the Cubs. I am one of them. I'm Adam Mamawala, here with Kevin McCaffrey, celebrating 5 years since the best night of our lives. And also a night that took 10 years off of our lives.
Yeah, 5 years, and we've talked about it before, but we can briefly re-up people on where we were at that time. I guess, so this is Wednesday, so yesterday was the anniversary of when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, and so I was waking up very hungover on very little sleep in Chicago to fly back to host a show I would do in Brooklyn at Union Hall that night. But yeah, I was back for that whole series, and then watched them win at my brother's apartment in Chicago. And then we walked from Ravenswood to Wrigley, which is like I think it's like it was a half-hour walk, but just like, people were just running up to us, handing us beers in the street. Someone handed me a full case, a case that had it was half full of PBRs that they were just, I'm like, did you loot a place for this? It doesn't
and
seem
you know
like
what?
it.
For the first time in Cubs history, that case was half full and not half empty.
Yes, there he did it. And it was so wonderful. It's like I saw, one of our away games follows, Kara Fagan, I believe, writing about how people would just were running up. 5 years ago, she was walking home from work or to home in Chicago, and people were just running up and hugging people, and that was the vibe. It was not looty or destructive or anything. It was just genuinely lovely, and people just running up to each other, high-fiving and everything. And it was it was a great time. And you were in Chicago for obviously Game 5, but then you were back here at that point.
Yeah, I was in Chicago for games 3, 4, and 5. Game 5, which I attended. I flew back on that Monday, watched games 6 and 7 at a Chicago bar called Windy City Tavern in Bay Ridge, which I think you maybe went to one time with me.
Saw the Double Doink.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We saw the Double Doink there. What a night that was. Yes.
Oh, very Cubsian Bears game.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I was watching it there. Game 6 was great and fun. And then Game 7, I was watching there. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's drinking. And then by the time the Davis home run happens, it's just dead quiet. And I had the foresight to preemptively close out my tab because I was like, I feel like I'm going to get arrested tonight. If the Cubs get walked off, I'm going to throw a bottle at the wall or do something stupid.
Yeah.
And then when the rain delay happened, I walked back to my apartment because I was like, I can't be around people right
now. That's exactly what we did.
Lose this game, I can't do it. And
we were at a bar when the rain delay hit and then walked to Joe's apartment. But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. And similar to you, I think by the time, it was such a brief rain delay that by the time I got back, they were talking about taking the tarp off and you were seeing the Cubs start to walk back into the dugout. And then I sat there alone with only the dog that I had at the time, and watched the end of the game and cheered and then burst into tears like every other video that we've seen of that. And I was telling my girlfriend about it last night because we were watching the game, and evidently I had not told her my Game 7 story, and so I told it to her. And then we went back and I demanded that we watch Game 7 highlights. So there's a 20-minute video of Game 7. And then
I watched that while I was making dinner last night.
Yeah, I watched that. And then I watched people reacting to the Cubs winning, which always gets me choked up, especially anyone over the age of 70. I just can't handle it.
No.
And after we watched that, and she was into it, even though she's not a baseball fan, I was like, can you see why it wasn't as irrational as you thought it was earlier this year when I was so sad about this team being dismantled? And she was like, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, at the trade deadline, watching all this happiness exist. Yeah, and watching it leave, and in our case, leave so stupidly, is a real bummer. And I remember flying home the next day. So many people clearly had the same thought that I did, that if the Cubs are going to be in the World Series, I'm just going home to Chicago. It's making a trip to Mecca, and
people were singing "Go Cubs Go" on a Southwest flight from New York to Chicago. When I flew
the Southwest, how far did it fly? Flight.
Exactly.
We were when in the airport. I remember I saw an old woman who had this vest with a million Cubs buttons on it. and I opened my mouth to say nice vest, and I couldn't. Nothing could come out because I like my throat caught. I just like couldn't do it. I could not handle it. And so
Yeah. I feel like, you know how if you've ever been, it's not as frequent anymore in airports the way things are set up, but like when you used to be traveling internationally and you would see people like greeting their families at the airport, and that's very emotional. Like I think they have a montage of it in Love Actually. Like that's kind of what I'm picturing.
Right.
That was when I first got to Wrigley that weekend and like saw World Series Game 3 on the marquee, and then I was just watching other people walk up and have that same moment and like kind of take it in, and that I think got me very emotional. But all that to say, the Braves won the World Series, and I don't want to pat myself on the back too much. I certainly didn't predict it at the beginning of the playoffs, but I did say Braves in 6 for the World Series.
You did. You got it exactly right. And sort of, I mean, this is something that is a little bit relevant to talking about the sadness of trading away the heroes of that time. Is one of the players from that team won the World Series MVP, Jorge Soler, who was dealt for Wade Davis in a deal that made sense, a deal that I did not love losing Jorge Soler, but I remember at the time being like, okay, this hurts, and it makes all the baseball sense in the world. He was 100%. At the time surplus to the outfield. Is going to be tough to get him at bats. He was super talented, young, and under like team control for a long time in an affordable way. And but the Cubs needed a lockdown closer, and they got Wade Davis, who was amazing at that job. Arguably my favorite closer the Cubs have had for a single year.
Yeah, and much the same way that the Cubs don't win the World Series without Aroldis Chapman, though I hate to admit that. I don't think that the Cubs get as far as they do in 2017 without Wade Davis at all. I mean, I was there firsthand to witness that performance against the Nationals.
The Game 5,
It completely wore him out for the next series, but even the same thing in Game 4 against the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, and that Wade Davis's Game 5 against the Nationals in 2017, that was sort of the Aroldis Game 5 from the World Series, where he shut down the last 2+ innings. I think
he got 8 outs. Yeah,
2 2/3. I think maybe that was the case for both of them in those games. And then obviously he wasn't as effective the rest of the way and pitched in Game 6 for no reason. But whatever. The nice thing is that Jorge Soler, after first half of the year, was not hitting at all, and then started to heat up. And then the Braves traded for him, and he hits 3 bombs in the World Series. If you put your money on him to be World Series MVP at DraftKings, it paid out pretty nice. And
did you do that?
I did not. But after Game 1, I was like, if I was in New Jersey right now, because it geolocates you, I would have done it, but I didn't think to do it like before the series started. But yeah, 3 home runs for that guy.
One he hit last night barely got out. I mean, that was a real cheapie.
Yeah, it would have derailed the old home run train thing on those tracks. Like, it would have knocked the train off. And that was a thing. I mean, we knew, if you're a real StatCast type nerd, that was one of the most encouraging things about Jorge early, was just like very few people hit a ball as hard as he does, both consistently and just as a top end velocity. And they say, oh, he got all of it. It's like, I don't think you really in a human way can hit a ball harder than he hit that ball out.
No, not since Pujols off Brad Lidge have I seen a ball like that in that stadium. I think it was Enron at the time, but
yes.
But I did appreciate you making that point at Away Games Pod on Twitter and also on Instagram, because good trades do exist.
Yeah.
That is a thing that can happen, and that is a thing that hopefully the Cubs should do more of. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it was I love the way that Soler pimped it, especially after that at bat. And while I hate to give John Smoltz any credit whatsoever, he did kind of call it. Like, throughout that at bat, he's starting to time the breaking ball. I would be really careful with that breaking ball, because the 2 previous pitches, he smokes foul down the left field line. And I know you don't want to throw him fastballs either, but like, man, that one hung as much as Joe Blanton against Montero.
Yes. And he just like, he couldn't wait to hit it. You could tell, I mean, he pulled it right down that line, but you could tell he was just like, he saw it very clearly the whole way, and knocked the absolute shit out of it. And when I look up Jorge Soler exit velocities, one of the first things that comes up is from June of this year, struggling hitters with surprising StatCast data, and how basically Soler is the first name there. Average exit velocity of 93 miles an hour and a max of 115, which 115 is I mean, that's the 99.
That's Stanton.
Yeah, right.
That's elite.
115. There's only a couple people on Earth who can hit a ball
Mhm.
115. Soler,
And it's
Stanton,
David
Judge.
Bodie right to second base or shortstop every
Yes,
time.
David Bodie into a double play. Exactly. That's that. So yeah, it was, if in a World Series that we both kind of were like, and I think much of America was like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't. Someone has to win, I guess. Seeing Soler win the MVP was really fun, and gosh, he can.
And
He
Snitker, easy to root for Snitker.
second oldest World Series manager to win their first, Snitker.
Yeah.
So I think he's.
What else are you
66.
saying about Soler? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I think that's basically it. Just seeing a guy who had all this, who came up and had the like incredibly hot start with the Cubs, and then was a good hitter, had some bad luck injury wise, had certainly bad luck umpiring wise.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Soler strike zone hashtag, and for whatever reason, and he's a guy who has a good eye and generally knows what a strike is, but we saw him finally reach that potential when he led the American League in home runs for the Royals, and it's cool to see him reach it. You can't do much better than winning a World Series MVP. So very cool to see that guy.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, Dansby Swanson had a big home run. Good for him. I don't really have any particular opinions about Swanson one way or the other.
Yeah, same. He's a fine shortstop.
Yeah, he seems fine. And I also thought it was cool that Freeman got to hit a home run and have his moment, much in the way that Walter Payton should have gotten a touchdown in the Super Bowl. But
yeah.
In football, you have a little more control over that.
You do, yes, exactly. It would be like in baseball if you could just like keep sending Freddie Freeman to the plate. Like, we're going to give him 4 downs here. He's going to take every at bat this inning. Yeah, it was cool. Obviously, the game 5 when Duvall hits the grand slam in the first, you think Atlanta's on their way and they're going to win at home, and then Freddie got to hit a gigantic bomb
that was
at home.
Bomb.
Yeah, totally.
I think they said it was the farthest home run in the World Series in StatCast era, something like that.
I would absolutely
until maybe 2 days later.
Sure, yeah, exactly. If we can go measure beyond the tracks, but yeah, and then as you said, the Freeman homer in Game 6. I mean, that's an center opposite shot to the deepest part of this park. Basically, that was rocked too.
Yeah. I guess that Duvall homer is much like a Ramos Ramirez in 2003, except that the Braves ended up winning.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, in some ways, and I don't think this was really part of my calculation in making this prediction, this was the best possible outcome for me, where the Braves fans don't get to celebrate in their stadium, although they were, I guess, technically in the park last night watching.
There was,
and for the second time in 3 years, the Astros fans have to watch their team lose a World Series at home. That's great, especially getting shut out. I'll take that any day of the week.
We're Larry David setting up the spite stores, setting up the the spite fandom stores. Yeah, I said exactly that to my friend Josiah, who we zoomed at to watch the very end of the game yesterday, and I was like, yeah, this is obviously, you still have your folks tomahawk chopping it up in Houston. There was still some there, but it was like, given the settings, given the players, meaning the crowds, spitefully, this is the best way for it to happen. They don't get to chop their way as a group to the championship there, and see that in their park, and watching the toxic fan base of Houston, which I opined about how weirdly awful Houston's fan base is on Sirius XM today at 4 p.m. A little bit. So at me, folks. But it was fun to watch them be sad too. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely. Especially like losing the way they did, where they just really never were in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel bad for Dusty, because it's just like it's a Sisyphusian task that he just has never quite gotten the rock to the top of that mountain. And watching, he had a hand in ruining some Cubs pitchers, but I don't think he was unique in that kind of philosophy at the time. And he seems to be a good man overall. And so it was a bummer to see him sad, but someone's got to be sad. He's making his money. He's had a good run,
You know who I was happy for is Ron Washington, who is on the Braves coaching staff, and thinking about a guy who 10 years ago this year was 1 strike away from winning the World Series as a manager twice in the same game.
Brutal.
We all know how that ended against the fucking Cardinals. But,
yeah, for a team that's never won.
That is the World Series I am angriest at in my life. that I would say that doesn't involve the Cubs. That's a little silly because they've only been in one. But like that, I can't think
Right.
of a baseball thing unrelated to the Cubs that has made me angrier than that World Series.
Yeah, that was dumb and frustrating, and it felt so like classically Cardinals of our lifetime, where the Cardinals have had some amazing teams in our lifetime. They've had great teams, but it seems like the teams that win the World Series for them are never their best teams. It's just like they end up sort of Mr. Magooing their way into a title, just, like sort of having the best luck possible at every turn and blindly walking into a championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. And it was that Rangers team was fun. And I mean, the ageless Nelson Cruz was in right for that ball to go over his head at the end. And, a
little bit like wanting Buckner on the field to celebrate.
Right. Yeah. And
the Josh Hamilton home run in extra innings is a completely forgotten footnote in baseball history because they end up losing the game.
Yeah. And Josh Hamilton, one of the most like fun players of the era too. And the Texas Rangers have never won.
A little too much fun.
A little too much fun. Yeah. You check the photos online. He's had a little too much fun. That's true. But yeah, that was a very shitty World Series. And this one was one where it's like, yeah, this year's World Series is maybe the one I had the least rooting interest in ever, but I theoretically rooting for the Braves. So great.
I just hope if the Cubs are not in the World Series next year, which feels almost impossible, but you never know.
Yeah.
I would really love to have at least a team who is likable. Like give me the Mariners in a World Series or someone who is easy to root for.
Yeah, and there are teams. I think I tweeted out because I was compelled by how unlikable this the latter parts of this offseason was, that I do think I tweeted out from our @AwayGamesPod Twitter handle like my complete ranking of 30 teams in order to root for, and there are teams I would root for. So I'll just read off the list super fast, but at the top I go Cubs, San Diego, Seattle, Cleveland, Detroit, Toronto, Baltimore, Colorado, Anaheim only while Shohei and Trout are there, and Texas. Those are my top 10, I would say. But I put a lot of stock in rooting for a fan base. If it's not going to be the Cubs, rooting for a fan base who hasn't gotten to experience that. And so that's where we have your, San Diego, Seattle, and then Cleveland. It's been a long time, and sorry about 2016.
I feel like I wouldn't have San Diego as high on the list because their fans seem to be real cocksuckers about 1984.
That's fair. I feel like I think maybe, and you're a little younger than I am, but I think especially like slightly older Cubs fans than me would probably have that feeling too. I feel like I haven't experienced that San Diego assholery, but I certainly believe it exists.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think our hatred is very much contingent on like what we personally experience. Like I think you and I very much hate the Marlins in a way that older Cubs fans probably hate the Padres and hate the
number
Mets.
30 on my list, Miami Marlins. Yep.
But the fans deserve it though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the fan. Excuse me, I misspoke.
Yes.
The Marlins man. He deserves it.
Yeah, Marlins.
Noticeably absent this year because I think he broke his leg, much like Charlie Morton.
Oh, that's funny. That's how he broke his leg scrambling to get to any other ballpark that besides the one his team played in.
Probably. Who knows?
Incredible. Yeah, I'll say the bottom of my list. Bottom 3, Houston, St. Louis, Miami, 28, 29, 30. So yeah.
Are the Yankees in the bottom third?
I don't have as much Yankee hate as I think you did, partially because I didn't really grow up around this area, but I got Yankees number 21 on my list.
Okay.
So they're, bottom third, but not fully the bottom. So, and I have White Sox at 12th. At 12 because I have enough because I don't give a shit about the White Sox for the most part. I root against them hard when it's Cubs versus White Sox, but I have friends and family who love the White Sox. I would like them to be happy.
I'm mainly anti-La Russa. That's the big thing.
I'm absolutely anti-La Russa for sure. The only pro La Russa thing I am is like he does good things for animals. Okay, great. But that's a genuinely nice thing. But yeah. Fuck him and
are the nice things for animals that he avoids hitting them while he's driving because he doesn't drive so much?
Right, he refuses to drive them anywhere. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, but otherwise I just don't care because I'm a Cubs fan and I don't spend every minute of my waking day thinking about the White Sox like many White Sox
Right.
people online do about the Cubs.
Hey, how about this? I am going to be in Atlanta on Friday and Saturday, and the World Series parade is on Friday.
Oh shit, that's crazy. You're there for a comedy festival, right?
I am. I'm wondering how hard I'm going to get fucked on surge pricing to get from the airport to my hotel, but
Oh
we'll
my
figure it out.
god. Yeah, you got to go maybe straight normal cab it. That like
That might be the move. Yeah.
normal taxi because yeah, that could be bonkers. Although I mean, it's weird. Are they celebrating in Atlanta because the Braves don't play there?
Yeah, they're just going to be on the interstate.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. They're going to
I'm
be
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the parade route is, and I also it might be done by the time I'm there.
into
I'm
an
sure people are
all-white
going to be.
cul-de-sac in Cobb County.
Jesus Christ,
But
a gated community with a quote neighborhood
that's
watch.
yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I get in at like 3 or 3:30, so perhaps the festivities will be over. But I do anticipate there being a lot of incredibly hammered people who got day drunk stumbling around, potentially being at comedy shows. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, that could be kind of a bizarre
Yeah.
like a bizarre crowd. Um
Yeah. But
yeah,
I
but
would
that
understand it.
mhm.
I had I been in Chicago for the parade, I certainly would have been drunk.
I know if I didn't have it was like as you know the show I used to do monthly at Union Hall in Brooklyn was like sort of the show I cared about here and
Yeah.
it was like a real thing. It was always good. If that was like one day later, I would have I guess it would have had to be 2 days later. Then I would have stayed for the parade because my family went to it and my mom
Yeah.
got like a hotel room like overlooking it,
Right.
and yeah,
That's really cool.
that would have been nice. The largest
Baller
gathering of
move from F. Pape.
yeah. Oh, Ev balled out. I mean, we went to game 3. So Ev balled out and got tickets to game 3 of the World Series that year. And that was, that. I guess that's the other part of my like comedy adjacent Cubs World Series story was I was opening for Tom Segura at the time, a decent amount. And he had dates that he had to move that were going to be in New York, and they moved to World Series week. And he's like, "Could you still do that?" And I messaged him and was like, "I can unless the Cubs are in the World Series." And this was a couple months before the World
Yeah.
Series. And then he just wrote back, "Ha ha ha, okay, I like my chances." And then he messaged me after game 5 against the Dodgers and he was like, "Do I got to get someone else for this?" And I was like, "You do." And it's probably one of the dumber career things I've done. But like I
No
missed
regrets. Come on.
no, but yeah.
Would it have been worth it to be at Caroline's for 3 nights when that was happening? There's no way.
No, I mean, no. And it's like, have I opened for him since? No, I have not. But it's like, we're still friends and stuff. But yeah, touring around continually would have been the smarter career thing. But as a life thing, no, I would have wanted to be there in Chicago. So yeah.
Well, my stepdad told me that we'll be a family again when the Cubs win the pennant, and
You're really
follow
selling
through.
that. Adam got no
Um,
stepdad.
No, I got no stepdad. I got a regular old dad.
You get a regular biological
regular
dad.
ass dad.
Yeah.
Shit. What was I gonna say? Uh,
World Series, this World
World
Series, Cubs World
Series.
Series.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how many people would come out to a parade. But I guess Atlanta has not won. Is the last championship Atlanta won as a city when the Braves won in '95? Because the
Ooh,
Hawks haven't won. The Falcons notoriously lost a Super
Right.
Bowl they should have won.
the
Do
28-3
the
lead.
Thrashers
Yeah.
still play? Is that still a thing? The Atlanta hockey team? I don't even know if
They're
they're there anymore.
no, they're out. I think they turned into Winnipeg again. I think they turned
Hmm.
into Winnipeg Jets 2.0. Could be wrong about that, but I think former Blackhawk Dustin Bufflin was sort of found himself relocated because of that.
I feel like that's like a funny turn of events where like if an NBA team in Canada fails, they move it to the U.S. and if a hockey team in the U.S. fails, they move it to Canada. They're like, it'll
Yeah,
work
that's
there.
true. Right. We did that with like the Grizzlies went to Memphis and then
Yeah.
I think the Thrashers went to Winnipeg. I think that's true.
And Toronto went to Tampa for a
Mm.
bit last year. 'Cause they
Yeah.
weren't allowed to be in Toronto.
That's right. Yeah, it might be unless the WNBA team won. Are they the Dream? Is that right?
The Atlanta Dream, I don't know that they won, but they did help win an election.
Yeah, they helped.
Shout out to the Atlanta Dream.
Absolutely helped the Senate races last year. So yeah, this could be the first. I guess it would be the first Atlanta city championship since the '90s.
Yeah. Any final World Series thoughts?
No final World Series thoughts. I think that's all of mine. I do have welcome to the off season, I should say, and there is
Thank you.
the one bit of Cubs news, I guess, is that the Cubs hired a new hitting coach. The new
Okay.
as Spinal Tap does drummers, the Cubs do hitting coaches. Just cycle through them, and they keep getting tossed aside. But they hired Greg Brown as the head hitting coach, and he has like an interesting resume. He spent the last 2 years as Tampa Bay's minor league hitting coordinator, and he also spent 9 seasons as the head baseball coach at Nova Southeastern University in Florida. And he also covered South Florida and Puerto Rico as an area scout for the Astros, and he was the scout that helped sign scout and sign Kike Hernandez and JD Martinez as part of the 2009 draft class. And as a minor league catcher, he played 4 seasons in the Marlins organization. So he's a dude who's been like all over the place and has like a sort of unique resume for a hitting coach.
I mean, as long as he didn't sign JD Martinez because he liked his character.
Yeah, I just love his views on guns and vaccines, basically.
Greg Brown, you said his name is?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do the Cubs still have Andy Green in their coaching staff?
You know, they do.
Well, that describes the type of color blindness I have. Real green-brown scenario.
Yeah, they've got Andy Green is still the bench coach, and Greg Brown joining the club.
Just a whole ass crayon box in there.
Yeah, the Crayola Cubs. But yeah, man, that's I think that's it for Cubs news too. So.
Yeah, well, I guess a begrudging congrats to the Braves, a real shit organization.
Yeah, people forget John Capalella, I think was his name, who got banned for life for nefarious shit a couple years ago. So it's not just Astros who are cheaters. It's also Atlanta stuff.
And, I guess one small shout out to Houston and or Braves fans who booed Manfred last night. He is so uncomfortable speaking, and I really enjoy it quite a bit.
It's great. He's earned every bit of it, especially this week. And it's just fun to see him, like, he did that pandering where he was like defending the tomahawk chop with the most nonsensical explanation you could do, where he's like, well, baseball's a local game and locally tomahawks are cool. So he pandered and still couldn't get them to love him. And you have to love that. So fuck off. Do something right, Manfred, please.
And nice job handing off that piece of metal.
Yeah, piece of metal. And Jorge, congrats on your piece of metal. You know, you're his different piece of metal. So
good for him.
But that's all I got.
Yeah, well, we will be back. I don't know that we formulated a plan here, but I sense that there will be stuff to talk about, hopefully pretty regularly and hopefully pretty soon. Perhaps not for the next couple of weeks, but we'll be back to talk about free agent stuff, to hopefully slide into some more players' DMs and get them on the pod, and that's what we got going on.
Hell yeah! Thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us at Away Games Pod on all the things, and we will talk to you soon.